One day, Prince George will be King of England, but for now, he does homework at the kitchen table, argues with his siblings, and gets told off like any other child. Keep watching to see what life is really like behind the doors of the home, where the future king is growing up. Forest Lodge sits in Windsor Great Park, and it's where Prince George actually lives his day-to-day life, away from the cameras and the ceremonial appearances people associate with the royal family. The house doesn't come with the kind of staff people assume. In fact, sources have said the family has no live-in staff at their home, though they do have a nanny, housekeeper, and gardener on the grounds regularly. That's a smaller operation than most people picture when they think about how a future king grows up. Inside those walls, George is not treated like a prince who gets to skip the boring parts of childhood. An insider told the Daily Mail that all three children pull their weight with chores because the Prince and Princess of Wales want them to have normal lives and do ordinary things, and that it would surprise people to see how ordinary things are at home, with the children helping lay the table, clearing their plates when they've finished eating, and tidying up with no preferential treatment. George is a future monarch who clears his own plate. The people who do work in that house operate under one condition that overrides everything else. William and Kate reportedly told applicants that they had to be skilled at maintaining confidentiality and exercising discretion. That's the price of entry into George's world. Say the wrong thing and you're out. That's why so little from inside Forest Lodge ever actually leaked. The people closest to George have signed up in effect to keep his life sealed off. Even the way the family dresses at home is deliberate. According to a source who spoke to author Valentine Lowe for his book on royal staff, William doesn't want the office atmosphere at home to feel formal for the kids. The source described how the kids run around the office, and William does not want it to be stuffy, though if there are important meetings or trips to Buckingham Palace, then of course they dress up. So George's normal is tracksuits and school uniforms. With the ceremonial robes and morning suits saved for the days, the cameras are actually rolling. Kate does the school run herself as often as she can. It's been widely reported that she prefers to do the school drop-off and pick-up in order to keep things as normal for the children as possible. That's not a small detail. For most families in Britain, that's unremarkable. For the family whose eldest son will be crowned one day, it's a very deliberate choice to stand at the school gates rather than let a driver handle it. But normal behind those walls has a harder edge to it than the polished balcony photos suggest. According to insiders who spoke about the family's home life, William and Catherine have built a highly organized and disciplined system at home, and behind palace walls, insiders said their upbringing is governed by a surprisingly rigid structure, involving strict routines, outdoor endurance, and carefully managed behavior, designed to prepare them for life under relentless public scrutiny. This isn't a chaotic, storybook childhood. It's structured almost like training. The reasoning behind it is direct. One insider explained that the couple is very conscious of avoiding the kind of sheltered upbringing that can leave children disconnected from reality, and that they want the kids to appreciate ordinary experiences, spend time outdoors, follow rules, and understand that they can't simply do whatever they want because of their titles. George doesn't get a pass because of who he'll become. If anything, he gets held to a tighter standard. Screen time is one of the clearest examples. Sources say the Princess of Wales restricted the amount of television and screen time for her kids, and that this is part of a wider approach where the couple is trying to keep the children from becoming overly indulged or insulated from the real world, encouraging independence, resilience, and a strong work ethic instead. So while other kids his age are glued to phones, George's access is reportedly rationed. There's also a very specific reason William and Kate are pushing outdoor time so hard. According to the same reporting, William noted that Prince George needed significant time outdoors to feel calm, and insiders say the couple believes a lot of outdoor activity reflects both William and Catherine's belief that nature and physical activity are essential to keeping the children emotionally balanced amid the pressures of royal life. William has talked about this publicly too, describing how he feels watching his kids in nature, saying he sees the passion in their eyes and the love for being outdoors. Discipline inside Forest Lodge doesn't look like people expect either. There's no naughty step, no isolation tactic. Instead, the family reportedly uses something called the chat sofa, As one royal watcher put it, the pair avoid using things like the naughty step approach and other traditional means for punishment, where parents send their child to sit away from the family on their own, so they can think about what they've done and come back with an apology. Instead, George gets sat down and talked to. It's discipline through conversation, not exile to a corner. And it's not soft. Sources describe William and Kate as parents who genuinely don't tolerate bad behavior just because their last name is Wales. One person close to the family said flatly that William and Kate are very loving and deeply involved in every aspect of their children's lives. But behind the warm public image, there's actually a highly organized and disciplined system running underneath it. The warmth people see in public photos is real, but it sits on top of something a lot stricter. Running quietly through all of this is one woman who almost never gets named in official statements, but who has shaped George's daily life more than almost anyone outside his parents, his nanny. She's been there since he was a baby. She's still there now, and she's the reason a lot of what happens inside that house stays inside that house. We'll get into exactly who she is and what she actually does, because it's a lot more than most people assume. Her name is Maria Teresa Turrión Borrallo, and she's been part of George's life since before he could walk. She was recruited from the Norland College in Bath in 2014 when Prince George was around 8 months old, and she has been a fixture in the family ever since. That's 12 years, more than George has been alive, minus a few months, of one woman quietly shaping how he grows up. Norland College isn't a normal nanny course. The training that comes with it goes well beyond changing diapers and reading bedtime stories. According to reporting on how these nannies are prepared for high-profile families, Norland graduates are trained in specialized skills like getaway driving and martial arts to protect high-profile clients from potential threats. So the woman making George's breakfast is also, in theory, trained to get him out of a dangerous situation in a car at speed. That's the level this operates at. Her pay reflects that. Reports suggest Borrallo can expect to earn up to $155,000 per year, along with what's been described as perks, including designer handbags, trips abroad, and luxurious living quarters. It's a serious job with a serious salary, because the responsibility is serious. She's not just watching George, she's one of the few people fully inside his world. One thing she's enforced from day one has nothing to do with security and everything to do with George's future. She made a decision early on that George, Charlotte, and Louis would practice a second language every single day. According to Hello Magazine's royal correspondent, given the fact that George, Charlotte, and Louis will probably carry out full-time royal duties in future and will meet people from all over the world. It's no wonder the Princess of Wales wants her children to be confident linguists, and it helps that the children have their own tutor in the form of their nanny, Maria. By the time Charlotte reached nursery, both she and George were already able to count in Spanish. Someone who trained at the same Norland College explained what the job actually looks like once the kids reach school age, which is exactly where George is now. She said the role involves organizing school pickups and planning logistics of the different pickup times due to after-school sports and clubs, on top of making sure each child has a filling breakfast, fueling them for a busy day at school, and remembering to send the children to school each day in the right uniform or sports kit. It's logistics, constant logistics, running quietly in the background of George's mornings. People who've watched the family operate describe the whole household as running with military precision, dressed up to look effortless. One source described it this way: "It's a military operation, but you would never guess it, because they work ferociously hard on their children's upbringing and making it seem relaxed and happy for the three of them." The calm, cheerful family photos are the finished product of a lot of coordination nobody sees. Royal commentator Pauline McLaren has pointed out how much power Borrallo actually holds in George's life, saying she believes the nanny would have a strong influence over the children, adding that royal nannies play important roles in the lives of royal children. This isn't a woman standing quietly in the background. She's shaping George's daily rhythms, his habits, and even the second language rattling around in his head. Interestingly, she doesn't actually live with the family anymore. Once they moved into Forest Lodge, there simply wasn't room, or maybe it wasn't the plan at all. Reports confirm that although Maria lived with the Wales family when they were based at Kensington Palace, their first home in Windsor Adelaide Cottage didn't have space for live-in staff, and when Prince William and Princess Kate moved to their new forever home, Forest Lodge, Nanny Maria didn't go with them. She still comes in, still runs the schedule, just goes home at night rather than staying under the same roof. That closeness hasn't gone unnoticed at the top of the family. King Charles himself recently recognized her. William personally carried out the honor, and the palace confirmed that on Tuesday, March 24, she received a special honor decided on by King Charles himself, with the Prince of Wales carrying out an investiture at Windsor Castle, awarding Maria the Royal Victorian Medal in silver for services to the Prince and Princess of Wales. That's not a token gesture. That medal is picked personally by the monarch, and it's usually reserved for people who've shown deep, sustained loyalty to the family. One source who knows the household described her role in George's life in a way that captures exactly why she matters so much. They said Maria loves the children dearly, that she can be firm and strict, but she is very loving and soft with them too. That combination, firm rules, real warmth, is basically the blueprint for how George has been raised his entire life. And with George growing older and heading off to boarding school, there's now real speculation that her constant daily presence in his life might be coming to a natural end, even if she stays close to the family for years to come. Because George getting older means everything about his life is about to shift, and nowhere is that shift bigger or more secretive up until recently than the question of where he'd actually be spending his days starting this September. For months, this was the single most guarded piece of information in the royal family's calendar. Where would George go for secondary school? The palace wouldn't say. Journalists speculated constantly. And behind the scenes, George himself was already quietly living a version of the answer before anyone made it official. According to royal author Robert Jobson's reporting, George had actually asked to start living at school during the week, even before his secondary move. Jobson wrote that the 12-year-old royal wanted to spend weekdays living at Lambrook School, his primary school at the time, and the decision to let him do it was tied to something much bigger happening in his mother's life. Jobson claims that once the Princess of Wales received the all-clear amidst her cancer treatment, she and William made a big call and allowed this. That detail matters more than it might seem on the surface. George wasn't just testing out independence for fun. He was doing it during a period when his family had been through a health scare that reportedly reshaped how they thought about his resilience and his readiness for the world outside their front door. William confirmed the boarding arrangement himself, almost by accident, during a radio appearance, where he was asked to send a message to his younger kids for the school run. He told the hosts, Charlotte and Louis, because George is boarding last night, if you're listening, make sure you're on time, please. That single sentence set off a wave of coverage because it confirmed something the family hadn't said outright. George, Prince William's own son, was already sleeping away from Forest Lodge on school nights, adjusting to exactly the kind of independence that would define his next chapter. The secrecy around where he'd land for secondary school ran for months. Reporters and royal watchers weighed two obvious options: William's old school or Kate's. A schools expert appearing on a royal podcast laid out the mystery, saying she believed the Wales may be holding multiple places at different schools, because it sort of feels as though if they had made a definitive decision, somebody would know and it would be out there. Even the normal rules of school admissions apparently didn't apply here. She noted that while ordinary people have to say yes fairly quickly so their children would be accepted, in the next few weeks for the royals, the normal rules possibly don't apply. Then, in the middle of June, the answer came. Kensington Palace put out a short, formal statement, confirming what a lot of people had assumed all along, but nobody had officially locked in. The statement read plainly, Kensington Palace can confirm that Prince George will attend Eton College from this September. George would be following his father's exact footsteps into the same all-boys boarding school that shaped William's teenage years And before that, his Uncle Harry's. The cost alone tells you what kind of world George is stepping into. The school runs at a hefty £63,298 per year. That's the price tag attached to George's education starting this autumn, on top of everything else that comes with attending a school that's educated a king before. There's a practical reason behind the pick that goes beyond tradition. Eton sits remarkably close to where George actually lives. It's just around a 20-minute drive from William and Kate's family home, Forest Lodge, which might have been a significant factor in their decision. And according to one school's expert speaking about the decision, you can see Eton College from Windsor Castle, so that would be lovely for George to be able to pop home. She also noted that boys there now get more flexibility than in past generations, explaining, "They're allowed a little bit of freedom to pop in and out of school at the weekends, to come home for Sunday lunch or tea on a Saturday evening after their sports fixtures." Security got a serious upgrade well before George ever set foot on campus. Reports from earlier in the year described how the school reportedly beefed up its security and revamped rooms in anticipation of George's arrival, according to the Mail on Sunday. That wasn't a routine update. That was preparation for housing the future King of England inside a boarding school dormitory. And the security question got a lot more urgent after a genuinely disturbing incident. Just months before George's arrival was confirmed, a report surfaced that there had been some concerns about security of the young royal, especially since a teen boy was found dead in his room in February of this year. Though there was no foul play detected in the case so far, with a probe being conducted to clear anything suspicious. Against that backdrop, the palace confirmed George would receive full-time security whilst he is at school, as was the protocol for Harry and William when they attended. An expert weighed in on why Eton specifically makes sense for someone who's going to be head of state one day, not just academically but symbolically. She explained that Eton, above all the other schools, has a breadth that's really unparalleled. And while all the other public schools have extracurricular opportunities in theater and on the sports pitch, Eton really does take it to another level, delivering on the global stage, and George will be rubbing shoulders with the children of the great and the good from all around the world. She also pointed to the religious side of it, saying George is going to be head of the Church of England one day, and that chapel is still a central part of Eton, adding she'd expect George to be confirmed there just as William was. But even with the school decided, George's parents are reportedly bracing for how hard the goodbye is going to be for the rest of the household. A royal commentator described the upcoming move as something that will hit the whole family, not just George. She said George's new school will be a really big transition for them as a family, and pointed out that even though the parents want him to have as ordinary a secondary school life as he possibly can, for someone who's second in the royal line of succession, it's still going to be a big wrench for them, Charlotte and Louis. She added something that puts the whole moment in context. This isn't the first upheaval these three kids have lived through. She noted, they've always been so close, adding that in their young lives, the children have moved from London to Windsor, had the transition when their great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, died, and coped with their mother's illness, that they have been through a lot at a young age, but they are probably very resilient. George heading off to Eton is just the newest chapter in a childhood that's already been reshaped more than once by things completely outside his control. But the school itself isn't the only thing quietly training George for what's ahead. There's a separate, more deliberate process happening in parallel, one that has nothing to do with GCSEs or rugby fixtures, and everything to do with the crown he'll eventually wear. Somewhere underneath the school runs and the sports fixtures, there's a second education happening. It doesn't show up on a report card. It's the process of teaching a 12-year-old boy how to eventually run a country. According to royal biographer Robert Lacey, this didn't start recently. He's reported that Prince George was told about his royal destiny sometime around his 7th birthday, though the parents are understood to be delving into more detail, little by little, as he is being trained for his destined role. So George has known in some form, since he was barely out of infancy, that his life was heading somewhere very specific. That knowledge has been building steadily, and insiders say the pace picked up noticeably as George crossed into his teenage years. One source told Closer magazine that the couple has done their level best to let George have as normal a childhood as possible, but it's now time to start the preparations, adding that he'll be 13 next year, so they believe he's ready, and that you can feel a real shift happening with George. The same source said that as part of this, George will eventually know every detail of what's expected of him once it's his time for the throne, and revealed something specific. George is reportedly learning Welsh, for the time when he will be the Prince of Wales once his father becomes king. Royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams has described this as a very deliberate, very private process that's now starting to surface. He said George has been undergoing what he called kingship lessons, explaining that from the start. From the beginning, William and Catherine have prioritized privacy. But he added that this is changing, noting George is being well prepared for his unique royal role. Fitzwilliams also flagged one specific expectation waiting for George further down the line, saying as future king, he will undoubtedly see service in the armed forces, and that privately, his parents will have schooled him to be a part of the military tradition, which goes back hundreds of years. That military expectation isn't just speculation from royal watchers. A former royal employee, Grant Harold, addressed it directly, saying flatly that George will have no choice in the matter. He explained, "It is seen as vital for future kings to have had some sort of military training, so you can guarantee that George, whether he likes it or not, will have to go through that military training. It's framed as one of the few parts of his future that isn't up for discussion." One of the clearest, most visible signs that this training has already started publicly happened at the coronation. George wasn't just a spectator watching his grandfather become king. He had an actual role in the ceremony, which royal historian Marlene Koenig has pointed out was unprecedented. She explained that George served as one of the king's train bearers, and George is the first member of the royal family to have such a role in the service. She added that if the young prince was nervous, he didn't show it, noting that his parents watched on with pride as he took part. Royal author Robert Jobson has said that appearance was designed to do something specific for George beyond ceremony. He described it as giving George a real sense of the grandeur and all the expectation, and said, "I thought that was quite important actually for George," adding that, "I think it was very important that he played that part as a page boy at the king's coronation." Koenig went further, saying the day gave George something no classroom lesson could: the knowledge that he too would one day be crowned in a coronation ceremony. Her overall read on him is blunt. She said George may be a 12-year-old schoolboy who loves sports, but he is most certainly aware of his future. Turning 12 triggered something else entirely: a formal change to how the family travels that has nothing to do with comfort and everything to do with protecting the crown itself. Reports confirmed that under royal protocol, George and William are no longer permitted to fly together, a precaution designed to protect the line of succession in the event of an emergency. One report even pinned the exact trigger point, noting the rule would kick in from July 22nd, as George will officially turn 12. From that day forward, father and son can't board the same plane. If something happened to one aircraft, the monarchy needs to know the succession survives. Since that shift, George has started stepping into duties that used to be entirely his parents' territory. In one instance, he stood in for his own father at a major public event. Royal editor Russell Myers has flagged this moment as a turning point, saying this was the first sign of George taking on future duties, in reference to George's appearance representing the family at a public engagement. Reports describe how in November, he accompanied his mother to the Royal British Legion's Festival of Remembrance, standing in for William, who was in Rio for the Earthshot Awards, impressing the audience once again with his calm, polite demeanor as he greeted guests. Another moment stood out for how George handled himself without any script. At an event honoring World War II veterans, George reportedly leaned into real conversation instead of just posing for photos, asking veterans direct, specific questions like, "Did you ever see a U-boat?" and "Were they hard to operate?" One report described the moment as quiet but telling, saying the moment wasn't loud or staged, but it spoke volumes. Royal author Katie Nicholl has framed all of this, the appearances, the training, the exposure, as something William is doing with real intention, not just tradition for tradition's sake. She said William has the sense to know that the public needs to fall in love with George as a youngster. That's the strategy in one sentence. Introduce him now. Let people warm to him gradually, so that by the time real responsibility lands on him, the public already feels like they know him. And through all of it, biographer Robert Hardman has pointed to what he sees as William's real philosophy driving the whole approach. He put it simply, William takes his role as father of the future king as seriously as he takes his role as future king. That's key. One insider summed up where that's landed George so far, calling him the most normal 12-year-old future monarch we have ever had, adding, "And that is a very good thing." So that's where George stands as this next chapter opens. A kid who's spent years quietly absorbing what his future actually requires of him, while still doing homework, playing sport, and living as much as anyone in his position can, like an ordinary teenager. So where does all of this leave George right now this summer, standing on the edge of the biggest change of his life so far? He's just finished his final term at the school that shaped his entire childhood, said goodbye to the routines built around Forest Lodge, the nanny who's been there since he was 8 months old, the siblings he shared a classroom with his whole life. And in September, for the first time, he steps into a world that's entirely his own, separate from Charlotte, separate from Louis, and increasingly separate from the daily hands-on presence of his parents. The people closest to this transition don't expect it to be easy, even with all the preparation. One royal commentator described what's coming for George in blunt terms, saying his first year at his new school is a time for him to get used to his new circumstances, to knuckle down and start studying for important exams, and to enjoy his school life. But she was also clear that the protective instincts that have defined his upbringing so far aren't going anywhere. She said she believes his parents will continue to protect him for as long as possible from the public glare that lies ahead. There's also a version of this story that plays out very differently from how William experienced the same institution at the same age. Back when William arrived, his parents' marriage was falling apart in public, and school became something of an escape from that. A commentator who was there at the time described watching him begin his secondary education at Eton College, recalling standing a few yards away from him as he was welcomed by his housemaster, and noting that the support Prince William received at school during a tumultuous time in his life was invaluable. She added that back then, both his parents were at his side, but by then, they were officially separated. She described how, in a strange way, being at boarding school became a haven for William. George's version looks nothing like that, at least on paper. The same commentator was direct about the contrast, saying things are very different for George, who has been brought up in a household full of love and harmony. No looming separation, no fractured home life pushing him toward the school gates. Just a kid whose parents have, by every account, prioritized family stability at the center of everything they do, prioritizing school pickup and rugby matches over their royal schedules. Still, the scale of what's ahead for him is enormous, and nobody close to the family is pretending otherwise. One expert pointed to just how different George's path really is compared to his younger siblings, saying that unlike Charlotte or Louise, George is the heir apparent, and he reportedly understands at least some of the responsibility that lies ahead. Even something as simple as which university path he'll take is uncertain, with reports suggesting he could skip higher education altogether in favor of military training institutions like Sandhurst. The nanny, who's shaped so much of his daily life so far, is also facing her own quiet transition. With George heading to boarding school and Charlotte and Louis growing older by the year, there are real questions about what her day-to-day role looks like from here, even as everyone close to the family expects her bond with the kids to outlast her job title. As one source close to the household put it, even without the daily routine, it's likely George, Charlotte, and Louis will still consider Maria as part of the family. What's clear, watching all of this unfold over the last year is that George's childhood has never really been one thing. It's been a kid who does chores and gets sent to a chat sofa when he misbehaves, and at the same time, a kid who's been quietly told since he was 7 years old that he'll one day be crowned. It's been Spanish lessons at breakfast and Welsh lessons for a title he hasn't taken yet. It's been a woman with martial arts training packing his lunch, and a father structuring his entire parenting philosophy around making sure the public falls for his son before the weight of the crown ever really lands on him. Nobody, not even the people inside that house, seems to know exactly how George will carry all of it once he's the one wearing it. What they do seem to agree on is that he's been given about as steady a foundation as anyone in his position could ask for. Built quietly, deliberately, mostly out of sight, inside a house behind Windsor Great Park that the rest of us were never meant to see into in the first place. Come September, some of that life moves out from behind those walls and into a boarding house a 20-minute drive away. What doesn't change is the plan that's been running underneath it the whole time. Sources: Marie Claire, Prince George's secondary school transition. Woman Home, Prince George's big school transition. GOTV, Prince George's school announcement. Hello Magazine, William's live radio slip on George boarding. Woman Home, Prince George's new school confirmed as Eton. Hello Magazine, Prince George's Eton confirmation. Royal Insider, William's Heart Radio boarding confession. Yahoo, royal author on parenting rule for George, Charlotte, Louis. AOL, behind closed doors of the Wales children's upbringing. Marie Claire, Kate Middleton's core values. The News International, brutally strict rules. Tyla, chat sofa rule. GB News, Prince George's future duties. Yahoo, Prince George getting lessons for future king role. Marie Claire, Prince George's kingship lessons. The Nightly, William's secret strategy for George. The News International, George's new royal rule at 12. Yahoo, former royal employee on George's military training. Yahoo, how Prince George is slowly preparing to become king. The Royal Observer, real shift underway with Prince George. Hello Magazine, Nanny Maria's strict language rule. Hello Magazine, family's routine change during half-term. All VIPP, Nanny's rule for Wales children. Marie Claire, Nanny could be ending her service. Marie Claire, Nanny's salary and perks. Marie Claire, William honors Nanny Maria. Yahoo, working as George Louis and Charlotte's nanny.